Well, we're back here again. People, Liverpool Champions League, topping it, going through, however you want to label it. But they just beat Girona, and it was pretty easy. Nothing more, nothing less. I thought, oh, Girona might have a little something for Liverpool today. I might be able to get a little recording where I can actually cheer about it, but we can't. But do smash the likes. Do subscribe if you're new. Big up to all the new subscribers as well. I do these videos on a regular. I'm just here to be honest about your team, regardless of who I support. Yeah. Anyways, probably another conversation for another day. But I made a breakdown for what I learned during this game. And I feel like it was not the most exciting game in the world, but tactically, I did thoroughly enjoy it, to be fair. So if you do enjoy the game the way I do, then you might like this piece of video. Anyways, but let's get straight down into business. This is exactly what I thought were the key points for what we learned. First things first. Good to see Alisson return from injury. Yay. It's such a positive for Manchester United. No, I'm joking. For you lot that are watching this, are majority Liverpool fans or haters lurking, waiting for some sort of criticisms. Don't get me wrong. I do have a couple criticisms for today's game, and it wasn't all handy dandy, but there's also some positives. There's a few, to be fair. I thought Alisson returning is a huge boost for Liverpool Football Club. Kelleher has been holding the reins, you could say, holding his own, making his own name, trying to be the next Alisson. But, top goalkeeper comes through, at the end of the day, you got to know your role. So for me, definitely a well-deserved welcome back after, about 6 weeks. And, you could say in the first half, he showed why he's Alisson. Now, I wouldn't say that Girona were anything threatening to Liverpool's goal, but when it did come to like minor moments, with like Brian Hill, I think he was offside anyways, saved it. Donny van der Beek saved it. Like he was just there, the sweeper keeper, the things that we know that Alisson do. I feel like a lot of people forgot how good this keeper really is. But yeah, he's back, and that's obviously a positive. Gravenberch running the midfield by himself. Now, I think this is just the main point, and this is where I say, you know what? Gravenberch or Ryan, let's call you on a first name basis. If we're like Ryan, if you're ever watching this, I apologize for calling you Gravenbish. I didn't say the swear word, but you lot can imagine the nicknames I've been calling him, or Graven Poo. Yeah, now you're called Gravy Boat. I see why. And I owe you a bit like Enzo Fernandez for Chelsea. My bad. Yeah, you are a phenomenal player. Anyone that watches this guy, I feel like he was doing it all by himself. You want to clamp? Ryan's there to the rescue, right? You need a ball sprayed bar to the one to Trent in the first 5-10 minutes. Ryan's going to find you. Even with McAllister not there, who's the one that you're going to lean back on to make sure that the midfield is running smoothly? Ryan. Better call Ryan. So, yeah, Gravenberch is just right now, he's playing at a class level and he's showing his potential. He's still very young, still got a lot to mature into, and he's really holding his own. And, maybe one day, if he can keep this up, he'll have, a household name in football. But, yeah, he's definitely teched off, and I can't stop praising this guy whenever I do watch him because it's just clear as day. He's better than everybody else. Slot's got this guy doing everything, like just name it, playmaking, clamping in terms of destroying, or you could even say just box to box even. He's everywhere. He's like a rash. They couldn't handle him today. You know what? I see a lot saying, oh, Aspria's great. Van der Beek's dead for the return. You got Miguel in the middle of the park. Who cares? Who actually cares when you got Gravenberch? He's Mr. Reliable. I don't think he's dropped lower than his... Maybe one game he might have got a 6. But majority of everything else, he's like 7.5, 8, 9, or 10. He's just... If you like football, you do appreciate performances like that today. So, for me, he definitely deserves his flowers because he was holding everything. It's a little bit like Spider-Man. Was it number 1 when he's on the train? He's trying to hold back everything. Just one of those ones. So trying to save the world. Technically, just one part of New York. But yeah, I thought he was definitely very, very good. And for me, put in a solid performance. Sabozo, come on, man. This is one player you feel like he's just got all the ability in the world, but when it comes to the middle of the park, he just doesn't look comfortable. You know, when he's playing for Hungary, is a whole different ball game, I suppose. But when it comes to him, I feel like he needs to offer a little bit more other than just pressing, you know, and maybe that's his role for Slot. Maybe Slot just says press the game and you'll get your goals and assists. But we know Sabozo is meant to be the guy that's getting goals and assists. Slot's even criticized that he needs to add that to his game. And, you know, I'm not even going to sit here and say Jones is anything spectacular. I forgot he was even on the pitch, really. But when Saboza went into the areas out wide, especially in the second half that's where he looks a little bit more comfortable. And I can see why some will say that he's more of a right winger than he is a central midfielder, especially in the Premier League or under Liverpool at that. Nunes, that man there, he's just got all the capability in the world to become something great. It's just that at times he does go missing. You know, he's been called Mr. Chaos. He's got everything. You know, when he comes, he's detrimental a little bit to how Liverpool have played. You know, pressing. You know, getting in wide areas. His general all round play wasn't actually bad for Liverpool today. It's that I feel like you need to impose yourself more, getting into the box, asking questions of the centre back so they know like who's there. For me, it was a little bit like, you know, Salah's going to take control soon or Diaz is going to make a run soon. Don't worry about that. I feel like he didn't get involved in the game enough and like he wasn't hungry today. Like usually with Nunes, you would describe it like fire, you know, when it comes to him. And I felt like maybe something was on his mind. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but like he just wasn't up to scratch today. And you know what? He's doing everything right in terms of play for me. I don't think his link-up's been bad. And I know he gets crucified for that, but it's just the goals are not there with it. And when your team does need goals, you know, obviously Salah to the rescue, hitting milestones again. It's like this is where you need your goal scorers, your strikers to get you out of that situation. You know, you got Daley Blind playing at left back, and it was there. I feel like Girona were there at some points for the taking a little bit. I think today lacked a little creativity from Liverpool in general. But regardless, Nunes definitely has to impose himself more as a threat, you know, and just tell the defenders that I'm here, like worry about me because they were too busy doubling up on Saka, you know. Miguel Gutierrez as well. What a player. And you know what? I thought Robbo played quite well today. I liked what Slot done in the second half. He kind of shut out their midfield, putting Robbo as a back three defender with Gomez and Van Dijk in the middle of the pair. And then it had them guessing the other side, right? And when it was in build-up, obviously you see Trent next to Gravenberch. But as soon as it got to a certain part in the field, let's say the second phase, then it went back to more of a, you know, a 4-4-1-1 pretty much. It went back to the conventional back four. So I thought, yeah, it was definitely a great little tiny tweak from Slot there. And, you know, Asprey and the rest of them, they really couldn't get into the game. There was no sniff. But I thought this Miguel Gutierrez, he was heavily linked to United. He's got a good release clause, something that I think, you know, Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes will be looking at because they love an easy deal, right? And I feel like, you know, if you want someone that's a little bit more better on the ball, that's a little bit like for like with Robbo in terms of style of play. I thought Miguel Gutierrez, I'm like, what? That's someone that should be on the radar for me. I feel like when I was watching, I was like, oh, that kind of gave me shades of old school Robertson getting up and down the flank, you know, getting back. And he was playing central midfield. So if you wanted to invert him, you can do that role. Bit of a multifunctional player, Slot likes those. So I thought, yeah, it was definitely a good like for me anyways. One, if that's going to be of interest. We talk about the A Noris of the world, but these are wingbacks or Kirkes. What about these other gems that are out there? Salah hit a milestone, 50 goals in the Champions League. I mean, I suppose the only thing you can do or say is congrats. You know, this guy just keeps going strength to strength no matter how old he gets. He's just going to be in the goals. Didn't think he played his best game today, but he was there in the end. And that's what happens when you lean on your talisman of the team, you know. Definitely he's got to go. You definitely need to sign him up. Get that contract sorted if you're a Liverpool fan, because if you don't, I don't know how you replace all of that. Second half was way too easy. And again, as I mentioned before, I think that's something you can probably praise Slot for. Again, like in the first half was a little bit gung-ho, a little bit for the last 15 minutes, you could say. You know, Girona could have got a goal. Danjuma making a little bit of a mill of certain situations. Brighton Hill looked like he was ready to pounce on Robbo at any given instance, but it didn't happen in the end. And that's where I say second half, he was in total control. The commentator said it best, taking a sting out the game is one of Liverpool's greatest weapons. And that's exactly what I saw anyways. Taking that sting out just kills Girona's momentum every single instance. And you know what? You probably won't get a mention because he did. I wouldn't say his previous game was his greatest game, but Joe Gomez cleaned up nicely today. I must say, big up Joe. You know, we go way back. Baller. Anyways, but yeah, he's making a little bit of a little bit of a run for himself. And I don't really see Joe Gomez committing his future to Liverpool, but if you can get him a good run of games, I'm pretty sure, and stay fit, because you know what? There's a myth that he gets injured all the time. When you look at his injury record last couple of years, he's actually been quite stable. Just needs to be playing more. Last year, multifunctional player, left back, was there for most of the season, I would say. I feel like if you want to go fetch a price and he wants to move on to play first team football, because let's be real, when Kanate comes back, he's taking that role. It is what it is, right? But yeah, I feel like he's definitely making a case for himself again, and maybe even for England. If Tuchel decides he wants to do this back three thing, Joe Gomez could be definitely in. I think he's in for a shout for me. I would personally, maybe I'm a little bit biased towards him, but I don't care. Elliott will adapt nicely. I saw a lot in 30 minutes for Harvey Elliott's game. He's been out for a long while as well. And obviously he's getting more minutes, little bit by bit by bit. And this is where I feel like this has got to be the one to be the guy behind the striker. This has got to be Elliott's position. I think maybe he might be utilized on the right-hand side for Salah some games. I don't know. We don't know yet. But I just feel like that behind the striker is tailor-made for him. He's already good at pressing already. I feel like in terms of trapping players, in terms of collecting, what would you call it? Closing the lanes. I would say Elliott's already adapted at that. So I thought we had a little bit of you could call it a nifty cameo, but there's a lot to come from him. He's annoying, especially coming off the bench. He's the last kind of player you want to come up against. Very creative, and he's got a goal in him at the end. But I want to see if he becomes that clutch player. I do, but hopefully not against my team. But for you lot, smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe as well. Super important. Let me know in the comments what you think, and we'll be back for the next game.